So me and this man, we spoke for a very long time as he was preparing me. And at that time, he said that if only he had the money, he was going to travel with me back to his village, which was there in Malawi. At that time, when I had consulted with him, he told me that even though he was still in communication with some of his relatives that he had left there in Malawi, but he had spent about 25 years without ever returning back to Malawi. But he said that I should not worry. If I wanted to go with him to Malawi, his ancestors, if they were willing, they were going to direct us straight back to the place where we were going to get help there in Malawi. He said that if I was willing to do so, I should try and save up for the amount that was required for this very, very long journey. Because I had trusted that man so much, I then decided to sell that residential stand that me and my husband had bought. It was giving me a lot of bad memories because everything about the house that we had built, by the time that my husband had passed away, we had managed to build only 2 rooms, but it used to give me a lot of bad memories. So I then decided to sell off that property. After I had sold off that property, I told that man from Malawi who wanted to take me back to his country so that I can be assisted. When I told him that I had enough, more than enough money that was going to take us to Malawi and return us back to Zim, he said that it was fine. So we planned. After we had planned, that was when we traveled to Malawi. When we arrived in Malawi, we got lost for so many days because since this man had been in Zim for many, many years, when we returned back to his home country, he kept on saying that everything had changed. Even the place where he was claiming that this was the place where he used to get transport that was going to take us back to his village, we were in the wrong place. After asking around, that was when we found this other man who was going in that same direction. That is how we arrived at that man's village. When we arrived at that man's village, my brother, without any hesitation, I agreed to all the terms and conditions. I was supposed to sacrifice my firstborn. This I had to do since my firstborn was the first fruits of my womb. This is what the traditional healer there in Malawi told me. That traditional healer, who was a woman, she said that you have to sacrifice and you have to make an oath that you are going to keep your promises, that when you return back to your country of birth, you are going to sacrifice your first child, my daughter, because she is the first fruits of your womb. She was saying that anyone who wants money from her shrine has to make that painful sacrifice of sacrificing the first fruits of their youth. And I agreed because I was in so much depression. If there is anyone who has suffered from depression, this pain, you know it, because at that time there was no hope in my life and I was not even thinking through. I was not thinking properly about the things that I was doing, all the oath and the agreements that I was signing my soul to. Even up until today, a lot of things are still demanded from me. Some of the things that I cannot even talk about. But my brother, in short, what I can say is that this life that I am living, it is a very painful life. You do not even know what I go through on a daily basis. There was even a time when I had purchased a piece of land that is just after an area that is called Beatrice. What I wanted to do with that piece of land, I wanted to put some cattle there and to make some paddocks, because these ritual items that were given to me, my brother, they always require blood. But as I was traveling to meet up with the people that wanted to sell me that piece of land, what happened to me, my brother, it was as if it was coming straight out of a Nigerian movie. As I was traveling along the Masvingo highway, something, my brother, that I cannot even explain suddenly happened to me, because I saw that I was no longer in that Toyota double cab Hilux that I was driving back in those days. I saw that I was inside the snake. I don't even know how to properly explain this, but I was inside the snake. Other people that were driving on that same highway that comes out of Harare going all the way to Beitbridge, they all thought that I was driving my car, but it was only me who could see myself inside the snake. This miracle, my brother, it only happened maybe for a minute or so. I traveled for about 2 kilometers. Then the car transformed itself again, and I found myself stuck on the side of the road. I then took out my phone as I was still sitting in my car. I still remember that at that time I was using those old phones that were there back in the day. Mine was a Nokia 1100. As I was about to call this other guy whom I used as my mechanic at that time, then the car spoke to me and it said, "You are supposed to return back to your house." At that time, I had recently bought a fully built house. After the car had spoken to me, I then turned around and I returned back home. When I returned back home, that was when in the morning I was woken up by a sound of a hissing snake that was in my bedroom. When I woke up, I was shocked with what I saw. But now this thing is no longer shocking to me because I am now all used to this thing. I saw a snake. The body was that of a snake, but the head of this snake, it is the head of a man, my brother. This is what I woke up and I saw in my bedroom. The snake then spoke with me and it told me that it does not require the blood of cows or the blood of goats, for it only survives on the blood of human beings. And it wanted me to honor my part of the contract. Since it had honored its own part of the contract, I was supposed to sacrifice my daughter as I had promised that witch doctor when I was still back there in Malawi. That is what I did, my brother. I allowed that snake to sacrifice my firstborn. She died. My daughter died soon after they had gotten out of school. My daughter used to go to this school that is called Girls High. So I went and I picked her up, but I knew that she was going to die. I took her to this other place where there were beautiful swimming pools that is called Liz Brown so that we can just relax. But she could not understand why instead of us going back home first so that we can change and come back to town, since the place where I am staying, it's very close to the CBD. But I told her that I just wanted us to relax. The reason why I wanted to spend time with her, it was because I knew that the snake was waiting to harvest the blood of my daughter.